soak into the reel seat and actually the rod. So I probably would ream this out just a little bit more, because what I'm doing is I've got my reel seat here, and then I'm going to have this grip. So I'm almost there, you know, on my measurement. So I'm going to just ream this out just a skosh more. I use these reamers. You can put these in a drill, which is real handy, but it doesn't take much to get these, so especially these graphite grips. Cork grip takes a little bit longer. The other grip that takes a long time is the EVA foam. Those take a lot longer to ream out than an average cork or carbon grip. Speak up.
I have a Craftsman drill that I use the Forecast Dream Reamer.
This?
And I put them right in the chuck, but you got to be careful, because when you're using it, you don't apply too much pressure, because they will break right here because of fiberglass. So what I am trying to do with Heller and Molly that were here yesterday from Batson is get these stainless steel with the fucking eat your fingertips off. But it will never break. But they're like 80 bucks, but I'll never have to buy 3 or 4 at 30, 40 bucks a pop.
And I've actually worn out the sandpaper on these, and then I'll have to buy more. In fact, this one I just bought new sandpaper and glued it in on the tip here because I wore out the first 4 inches of it. Thanks, Eric. Appreciate
no worries,
it,
brother.
Anyways, so my grip here is comfortably. It's not slopping from side to side. If you are oversized, you can always do a wrap with your masking tape to take up. And people say, well, doesn't that reduce the sensitivity? I've never felt anything different. So you can use what are called graphite or polyethylene or polyurethane arbors. I like those if they aren't too thin, because they get brittle when you're putting it together. And I actually like the tape. So here's what I do. This is going on like here. I'll measure where that's going to be, so I know that I'm going to put tape here, and the back is right here. And then I do one in the middle. So what I'm doing on these is I'm actually taking tape, and I'll wrap, and it takes some time doing, but I'll just create a bulbous wrap with the tape. And that helps keep the reel seat centered on the handle, so it's not flopping all over the place. The other thing I'll do is I'll use my caliper.
Right now on the bass tank, we have Rusty Brown, the U.S. Open champion, speaking at the bass tank, starting now.
So on my caliper, and this looks expensive, but it isn't. It's only about 35 bucks. I recommend that you get one. So I measure the rod that I'm doing, and that's at 0.042, and then I measure the reel seat. So I do the inside, so this is 5.6. So I have to build up the distance of almost 10,000 millimeters to get up to the right size, but I'll go ahead and do that. And I make real tight wraps. I don't want it sloppy because I don't want it really to compress. So I'm going to take this and measure my wrap. So that's at 5.1. I'm going to go just a little bit more. That's at 5.3. So I want this, when this goes on, it's just going to go on, and there's a little bit of play, but it's going to keep it centered. So I'll do 3 of those wraps on the bottom of the rod where the reel seat will go on. And then when this goes in, then I have a inletted reel seat and so see how that goes on, and it's nice and tight, it's not slopping around. And so then when I do my glue, I'll glue this up with the epoxy, and there'll be some that'll drip out here. I'll kind of take up the excess, and then I'll glue the epoxy in, and I make sure that I get the adhesive in between each of these gaps, so that when I push this up, and when I push it up, I twist it, and that's rolling that epoxy onto all the surfaces on the inside. If you were to look at this, it's kind of ribbed on the inside. And you want your epoxy, because that's what's going to hold that thing from spinning on you, you know, in later days. I actually had a reel seat. I was up in Fresno one day. It was about 114 degrees, and the heat, and when this thing was sitting on my dash, and I forgot about it, and I came back, and the reel seat was loose because the heat from inside the car, which was probably about 180 degrees, had just melted the epoxy. I've never had that happen before in my life, but it did happen. So I used the Pro Paste. I like the paste because it holds in place. It's not dripping off the rod when you're trying to apply it. When you use a 30-minute epoxy or other epoxies, it tends to drip off, and the paste stays in place. It's cleaner to work with. If there's any extra, then I will take and I will wipe it off, and I'll use alcohol to dissipate it. You can use acetone, but acetone's pretty caustic to work with. The alcohol's a whole lot easier. So I'll glue this on. It's all sitting here. Then I'll come and I'll glue the fighting butt on. If you have a fighting butt, you don't always have to have a fighting butt. And you may have just a reel cap that goes on the end of this if it's for a lighter weight rod. All my rods that are 6 weight and above, I'm putting a fighting butt on. Then the other thing that I do is I put on my metal winding check. Now, some people use a rubber winding check. It's okay, but I prefer the metal. I think it looks cleaner, it lasts longer, it just dresses it up really nice. You don't need much epoxy to hold that on, just a little dab on the tip here, and I slide it down. So same stuff. I'm using the same mix. So I'll mix up a glob, you know, on a piece. I'll probably do that much of a glob on each side, and then I'll mix it together. I use a popsicle stick or a coffee stirrer. Just don't press real hard because it'll break.
I got popsicle sticks.
Yeah, popsicle sticks